What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Last and Thoughts Podcast. I'm your host, Digital Relaxation, and we are back again for the new year and new episode. And hopefully it's constant. Um, funny thing about this being the episode for the new year, we are going to be talking about last year again. I wanted to go more in depth with it because I had guests on my last episode, and of course, I wanted to give them the floor. But yeah, so before we get into that, yeah, you guys like what you hear, what you're gonna hear. It's your first time finding this podcast, or you are someone who just found out that I'm alive still. Please be sure to share this podcast. Let them know that I'm still here, and I just knocked the mic a couple of times earlier, so y'all might hear that. Yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, as usual, what I'm currently into, not much. I'm actually in terms of like gaming, of course. I'm playing. Funny enough, I talked about what I was doing last time, and I'm going to get into that when I get into the gaming section. But I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3. So this game. Um, I don't I don't know how it happened or what it. I'm like, I think this is something I need to deep dive with myself or something, and really like figure out where this turning point happened in my life. Where I grew up on playing RuneScape, like the whole that setting of like the medieval whatever knights and wizards and sorcery and all of that good stuff was like that was the thing, and that was my game. Like I used to like literally live on there. Like I would be on my mother's laptop because I never had my own, and like the fucking the thing would get so hot, like burning my lap because I had it sitting on my lap, and I'm like, I like I had to put something on top of my lap so it could be on top of it. I'm like, I used to sit there and just like freaking roast my mother's laptop just playing RuneScape with my cousin and friends. But fast forward to Baldur's Gate 3, and it takes place in the same set, like the same setting style of like knights and wizards and all of that. Like you can customize your character or whatever, and that's like the setting of this time period. And before I do that, let's rewind again to The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 also has the same setting, and for some I don't know when this happened, but for some reason I just got a big disconnect from that setting when games are like put in that time period, and I just don't find myself enjoying it like I enjoyed RuneScape. And I think maybe part of it is because RuneScape is a MMO, and most of the fun came from hanging out with my friends, and we just doing random stuff and doing random RPs and stuff to spice up the adventure and whatnot. But it was still a simple basic just grind your character and make them strong. It's the same thing you do in just about all of these games. Like just grind your character and do missions and quests, and yeah. So Witcher 3 came out, and I don't know why. I wanna talk about why this is the second time this has happened. Witcher 3 came out and took the gaming world by storm for a good moment. Like CD Projekt Red became like a household name in game devs and whatnot because of that game, and then of course they dropped Cyberpunk, which I'll get to that later. And I never heard of The Witcher 1 or The Witcher 2 or none of that. And then I just peeped that they recently, like not recently, but when Witcher 3 was like at its peak, they like dropped Witcher 2 for like, because I guess it came out on 360, and it was like, oh, you could backwards compatibility, and I think they dropped it for free or something like that. And around this time, this is when I started getting into listening to podcasts, gaming podcasts specifically, and even they was talking about it, and I'm like, everyone loved this game. I'm not sure if it did, but I feel like it may have one game of the year. Which fast forward to just this recent Game Awards, Baldur's Gate won Game of the Year. But yeah, so I'm like, everyone's liking this Witcher game. I never, I don't know anything about it. Like, when the heck did 1 and 2 come out? But 3 just came out of nowhere, and like I said, just took the gaming world by storm. So I was like making it my mission to like, I need to get Witcher 3 to understand why everyone is hype about it. And that took me on a wild journey. I bought Witcher 3. I had the original Xbox One, the big. I'm not even going to finish that because that's going to sound wild. But the original one, do you know what the original one looked like? Do you know what I'm going to keep saying? But yeah, I had the original one. And I got the game and I put it into like, that's you gotta install the game first before you can play it. I hate this software. And for some reason it wouldn't like register the game or whatever. Something's wrong with it, and I got it used from GameStop. I think it's like probably one of the last games I ever bought from GameStop too. Nah, I'm lying. But yeah, so I'm like, yo. Oh, and this is, oh my lord, this is before I had a car, bro. And that walk to GameStop is not, it's not a quick one, bro. So I hiked to that. I'm like, I gotta hike back and tell them like, no, I don't even think I did. I think I probably used my dad's car, whenever I had time to use it. And I was like, yo, this game ain't working. Can I get another one? I got another one, and same issue. And I'm like, okay, I don't know, is something wrong with the game, or is something wrong with my Xbox? I'm like, it can read this fine. If I put in another game, it read my disc fine. But of course, those games are already installed. So, but I guess I came to like a little conclusion that something might be wrong with my Xbox, because there's no way in hell they're gonna give me 2 bad copies. I mean, possible, but I'm sure they test their games before they put them on the show. Like, they test stuff like if you selling your games back or your consoles back, they test it to see if it's like, oh, we can take this. So I'm sure it worked before they went to go sell it. So I was like, something might be wrong with my Xbox, I guess. Around this time, this is when I actually like got my first job too. So this was around Black Friday. So I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. with that Black Friday check. I went and traded my original Xbox in, and got the One S. So obviously it's smaller now. So, and funny enough, I got the One S, and I never tried to get The Witcher 3 again. And then fast forward like a year, not even a year, a few months, maybe a year, but a few months, I finally took the plunge to build my own PC. And then I finally got The Witcher 3. It was like on sale for like $20. It's usually on sale for $20 when Steam had its sales, like the whole complete every DLC and everything on there. So like, yeah, I'm finally gonna get this now. And I just couldn't get into the game. But it was like, I literally went through buying a whole console, which it's because of that game I had to go through that. And I ended up building a whole PC, and like, yeah, I'm going to beat this game, whether I like it or not. So I forced myself to beat that game and just uninstalled it. I think I only got like 30 hours in there. Like, I didn't do no side missions or nothing. But I didn't understand like why I just didn't connect. Well, again, of course, because it's the third game, so a lot of the characters and stuff probably already like, I don't know what the hell going on here. So I guess that's my fault. But still, like, even like from a gameplay aspect, I would still like be interested in it, and I wasn't. Then fast forward here, Baldur's Gate 3 just drops. And I think it kind of did like a little surprise drop. The same with I think I want to say Elden Ring did that, and that's how they it won last not last but 2 years ago. Game of the year, because I don't think there was really any hype around Elden Ring dropping. I think it just kind of just dropped. um, but this kind of just Baldur's Gate just dropped, and I just seen like everybody streaming it, playing it, and I'm like, what the hell going on there? Never heard of Baldur's Gate 1, 2. To this day, I still didn't like research like the previous games to see like if the lore is connected or whatever. Because for some reason, I feel like it is. Because they showed some characters in the game that's like the way they introduced them, it made it seem like you supposed to recognize them, and I'm like, okay, like to me, it's just like okay, just a regular person. So I don't know if the lore is connected in a way, but I'll figure that out later. But yeah, I get Baldur's Gate 3 because same situation with Witcher. Like this one game of the year, everyone like when did this like when did this happen? Like nobody never talked about Baldur's Gate 1 or 2. I never knew it existed. And we have a third one out of the blue, and it's game of the year. Let me see why. So I got the game, and I started playing it, but I was still doing Cyberpunk at the same time, and I was getting overwhelmed because that game is a big like if you're not really into games like that, it can be overwhelming in the beginning. So you got to give it your full attention when you first started out. So I was like, let me finish Cyberpunk, and I'm gonna keep this on the side for a little bit, and then when I'm done with Cyberpunk, I'll come back and give it my full attention. So now I'm giving it my full attention, and I made another character because I was already like, I mean, I was still at the beginning of the game, but I was already lost on what the hell was happening. So I was like, let me start a new character. Let me try to build him like something specific. So I kind of be like a sorcerer, because I had like Doctor Strange in mind. Like I'll just be Doctor Strange in there, and yeah. So I'm just playing the game and realizing the combat system in the game is tricky, where you can talk to people. Sometimes you can get into a fight, sometimes you can get out of it. Then there's, if you lose a fight, the checkpoint system in this game is trash. Like you lose a fight, then you start like, I'm back at the beginning again, so now I gotta find my companion again. I gotta freaking do all this talk and dialogue again, and then see if I can avoid the fight this time, and not. And then it's like, bro, like, yeah. So especially for PC players, I don't know if, about consoles, but for PC, we know you can do quick saves like with one click of a button. So that's like, that becomes like your best friend when you're doing something. Like you're like, all right, looks like something's about to happen. Let me quick save, just in case I don't like the results of what happens here, or if I do die, like I'm not gonna fucking just start back from 10 hours to go. So yeah, but it started off rough because I was losing a lot of fights. My team was trash, and then I started getting the hang of it, starting to like understand how certain things work, how certain people work, changing my team up a little bit. And then we started leveling up. I'm like, all right, we're getting stronger now. We can start holding our own in some fights, figuring out how to maneuver out of fights, and just like getting myself more immersed in the world. So I'm actually enjoying Baldur's Gate. Long story short, I'm enjoying Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think I'm enjoying it as much as like obviously I'm definitely not enjoying it as much as everybody is, like how everyone was loving it, but I can see the charm and the effect of it and how it can win game of the year, because the game doesn't tell you anything, like for the most part. Like yes, you do have a mission, but the game doesn't tell you how you should go about it. So you can literally do whatever. Like there's like, because I be watching some videos and like there's people like important characters in the game that people like, oh, I'm just gonna kill them, and I'm like, that that person is kind of important. But yeah, so you can do whatever you want, and I think that's also the fun factor of like the immersion as well. You can just like, you want to be a dark wizard who just, hey, you look at me wrong, is on. Or you could just be the most friendly, super happy go lucky person. um yeah, it doesn't tell you, like, there's literally a points in the game where you know what your mission is. Like I said, there's an overall mission from when the game starts, but like sometimes they'll put missions on the map so you know where you're going. There's be times where there's nothing on the map, but you know what your mission is, but there's nothing on the map. So they literally want you to go figure out how to continue this game. So just go talk to somebody, see where it leads to. Walk somewhere, see if it see if you find something. Like literally, like they just want you to explore the game and figure it all out your own and see what you can piece from this world. So it's a good game. I'm still um I don't want to say, I don't know how long this game, but I feel like I'm I'm starting. Well, I'm on Act 3 now. I just started Act 3. I don't know how long Act 3 is, and of course, like I said, depending on how much I'm gonna be walking around doing side stuff, I can be close to the end of this game, and yeah, I could probably give a proper quote unquote review of the game. But as of right now, I'm enjoying it because I got the hang of it now. Now that I finally understand what's going on and how things work. Like I said, it's a learning curve in the beginning if you're not really into that kind of play style. And mods help for me at least. One of my favorite mods is the WASD movement, which basically changes the point and click movement to a regular like mouse and keyboard movement. So that's amazing because it makes it literally feel like a different game. But yeah. What else? That was what I've been up to. Just playing Baldur's Gate now. I mean, I am up to something important, but I'm not gonna talk about that yet. I'm going to hint towards it later on too, but I'm still not gonna talk about it. We still doing background work on that. Other than that, just maintaining, working, and yeah, planning. But yeah, let's get into it. The best of 2023, or just what I've been doing in 2023 and more in depth. So some of this was kind of like off the top of my head, and some of this was like, I don't know, like I can figure it out. So interesting with music. I only have like two things to say about music, which is weird because of my job, all I do is listen to music or podcasts. But mainly music. But I haven't really been listening to new music because I was looking at like what dropped, because I don't want to confuse 2022 with 2023, because I talked about this like in the earlier episodes of 2023 podcast. Like in terms of entertainment, like there was a lot, and and that's what sucks. There was a lot that came out in like all forms of media, and because I went through what I went through, I paused myself on enjoying a lot of it, and that sucks. But so I was able to, some things, like I said, I only have like two things for music, and some stuff is a little bit long, some stuff is not. So I'm sure I talked about this, but to re-clarify, because last year was 50 years celebration of hip hop. I decided to drop two mixtapes to celebrate hip hop in my own way. The first one was a take on the Quiet Storm, like playlist radio station style, um, where most of the songs were kind of romance, love theme, but like the first half, and then the second half was more introspective. But the whole thing was for the whole thing to be like more chill. But yeah, and then the second one uh was well, the second one went through the most changes. The first one, Quiet Storm, I that one was simple. I knew what I was gonna do with that one. I did it, banged it out. That was it. The next one, which is titled Brooklyn '99, was originally planned to be called. I think it was originally going to be planned. It was planned to be called For the Road because the theme of the mixtape was I knew my plan was I was going to drop it the day I was leaving to Japan because the theme of that mixtape was supposed to be like for the road, for like, when I'm traveling. This is a playlist for when you're traveling somewhere or whatever. And then I was like, maybe I can do another theme thing with this, like I did Quiet Storm, which in Quiet Storm there's some songs where I have like little radio skits as if there's like a radio player playing like a playlist of my music. So like maybe I can do something with that since I'm going to Japan or whatnot. And the second title for the mixtape was going to be called Big Dreams Airlines. So it was going to follow basically the theme of being in the airport. I was going to have like skits of like, the attendant and announcers like saying when the plane was going to leave and whatnot in between songs. And by the time I got to the last song, it would end with I landed in Japan, and that was supposed to be for the listeners. Like, oh, that's what he did. But that didn't work out, and I got inspired one day. Weird. I don't know how. Oh wait, I know how, but it was still weird. So I was going through TikTok and randomly seen a video of um uh of Jean-Michel Basquiat, a movie he was in. And I noticed two of the actors that was in the scene with him were from I want to say movies called Wild Style. Which is, if you are speaking of 50 years of hip hop, if you are a fan of hip hop, that is probably a must watch movie. Yeah, it's called Wild Style, which is also like a very heavily sampled movie, especially like from the 90s and early 2000s eras. Like literally Nas opened up his album with Wild Style. But I noticed two people from that movie, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like it's a little what you might call it, like reusing of cast members type thing. But funny enough, that movie came out before Wild Style. And the movie I'm talking about is called Downtown 81, hence Brooklyn 99. That was the inspiration for that. And the movie is on YouTube. And I was just like, because I was never, despite being a art major and like and enjoy creating and all of that, I was never one of those guys who's like, oh, I have like a favorite artist and favorite art style piece that I like to look at. Like I'm not that that deep into it. I just like creating. But I just got intrigued because I never really looked up anything about Basquiat. And I don't know. I think it was kind of a culture shock to me or something because when I seen that clip and I was like, oh, I know who these two people are, and I'm like, wait, even though this is 81, this is still quote unquote recent to me. Like recent, like like people in your family members was around for this. Like, is that recent? And I'm like, why every time I think of Basquiat, I'm thinking he was even like probably like early 70s for some reason. I don't know why. But even though he was around, well, kind of. I mean, he was a kid, but he was around. But I mean, I'm thinking like how he was at the peak of his career. I was assuming that it was the 70s for some reason, and I'm like, man, he was just here. Like it was that recent. Interesting. So see. I did a little background search on this movie because I'm like I never heard of this movie before or any like because like Basquiat is a well known painter, like even like I know him like in terms of like people who's like up there and as artists, and I never heard anyone talk about this movie ever. No, like nothing. I never heard this movie existence. So it was like a full circle thing. So I'm like, what is this? The premise of this movie, apparently this took place like literally like right before he like exploded on the scene too. Like it was one of those things like he was already doing stuff, but like he was like a local dude at the time. I believe he was actually homeless during the making of this movie, and like literally like after this movie, that's when he became the Basquiat we all know. Um, but the funny thing about this movie was filmed in 81 or really was supposed to be released in 81, hence the name of Downtown 81. The movie did not come out till 2000 because something happened with the audio recording. Well, first, obviously his death happened, but usually that don't stop releases of things. Usually that gives it more press. But like I said, something happened to the audio of, well, I wouldn't say his death happened because he would still be alive when the movie was supposed to come out. But something happened to the audio of the movie, and funny enough, I think it's mostly Basquiat scenes. For some reason, his audio wasn't captured properly. So by the time they realized that, I think he already passed. So someone dubbed over his voice, and then the movie was finally released in 2000. So yeah, but the whole premise of the movie, honestly, it really is no premise of the movie. It's just him literally just walking around like New York and just indulging in the lifestyle. Just making art, places, doing music. Apparently, he was also a music artist. I did not know that. And he's just he's just walking around and just basking in the city life. It it's probably the most simple script if there were a script. Like, hey, just walk around and just make art, and we're just gonna film you. But yeah, and there's a scene and there's a trailer that I took parts from. Well, no, actually not a trailer. The Downtown 81 soundtrack starts off with a song which I believe he and I guess his band created. And there's a part where this woman speaks in the beginning and she basically talks about the premise of the movie, kind of. And I'm like, this kind of sounds like something that works because obviously I'm from New York and the movie's set in New York. And I'm like, this actually works. So I took that part of her speech and used that to open up my mixtape. And then I took a scene from the beginning of the movie, which sadly it wasn't his voice, but it was still a good little monologue moment. And yeah, but I went from the tape was inspired by me going to Japan to being inspired by Basquiat's movie. um, which funny enough though, because most of the songs still keep the element of me traveling. Um, like literally the first song I opened up the song with I'm packing my bags and heading to another land. So yeah, that's the background story of that mixtape. And I like when I notice things like that, like, cause I'm pretty sure I talked about this, but I do plan like my music, like literally like when I make a project, I already have the next one planned in my head, at least what it's called. And then by the time it gets released, that's when I realize, oh, like all the changes, like this is supposed to be this, and this is supposed to have this theme, and then by the time it comes out, it's a whole completely different project. But yeah, um, that's that. And during 2023, Redman was doing something interesting. He was doing Jack Boy beats, where he was just basically just, well, the premise is that he was just jacking beats from different songs and just rapping over it. And he did one song called Heal Yourself, and that song spoke to my soul, especially because of what I was dealing with. And the whole premise of the song is literally what he talks about, healing yourself. He opens up the song with like literally just, I just thank God that I was able to live to see another day, and just going through all his, like, his lifestyle changes, what he'd been through, understanding his conditions of why he probably talks a certain way and why people don't understand it, had overcoming his past like dark thoughts, and like, that's progress. And because most people don't know, like, you ever watched, like, I think it like probably his Instagram, going on Instagram and stuff, like he's like out here just living life. Like I think he became like a certified like skydiver. Like he just be out there just living life, and it's like, that's dope. And especially like for what I did that year too. And like that song, I had that song on repeat for like a good week. And like that's my song right there. But interesting enough, I did not listen to no new projects, but there was a lot of new projects that came out that I was probably going to listen to. I know Nas dropped Magic. Apparently he dropped Magic 2 and 3. But I know Magic 3 was the one that was getting the most press. And I didn't listen to none of that. I just been listening to my regular schmegular playlist and myself, and that's about it. Going into movies, this is not really a best of. This is just the stuff that I've seen that came out. Which again, I didn't even realize some of these were like Mario Brothers. I thought for some reason that came out in 2022. But the Mario Brothers movie, I seen that was cool. It was a good adaptation. Equalizer 3. When I saw that, I was like, wait, did John Wick 4 come out? Because I remember like literally going to the theaters to watch John Wick 4. And when I typed in movies that came out that year, it wasn't on the list, but apparently it did come out in 2020. It came out in March, so freaking early. So I guess John Wick 3 is John Wick 4. I don't know if I was saying 3 the whole time. John Wick 4 and Equalizer 3 both came out the same year, which is funny because they both are like, it's the same, not the same premise, but the same like style of who they are. Like they just these badass, like top tier killers in their fields. But yeah, I mean, uh, and I don't know if this is a blemish for Denzel because I know that was like when they was advertising Equalizer 2, the the commercial was like, "Hey, you gonna do Equalizer 2?" And he was like, "I don't do sequels," and I'm like, "Huh." Like I'm going through his career, like I think that's true. He never does sequel, and most of the time because most of his characters don't make it. So to see him not only do a sequel but to do a trilogy was interesting. But it's one of those things where it's like, because the character he plays was like, the Keanu is different because we seen Keanu like since the Matrix. Like we know he's nice with them hands, like he trained for this. With Denzel, like he probably done some action stuff, but it was like typical action, like shooting some little fisticuffs, but it wasn't like straight up martial arts. I mean, probably the closest we would got would probably be the Book of Eli, and even that, I feel like someone that was just maybe stunt double. Like he probably wasn't doing all of that, and I think that's where it's like it gets weird because like, especially at the age he is now, and it's like they definitely toned it down in the third movie. I'll put it that way. From the first movie to the third movie, they toned it down like on his capabilities. Like literally, they started the movie with him being injured for like a good first third of the movie. So he's like walking around with a cane and he can barely do anything. So they limit like a reason why he's like, yeah, I'm just an old dude. Like just you know. Um, so it's a weird movie. It's a good watch still, but because for me, like I'm a especially for that kind of feel like action and fighting, especially with martial arts though specifically. That's my lane. Um, and to see like that was toned down in that movie, it was kind of a letdown, but it is what it is. But yeah, then speaking of threes, Creed 3, uh wait, did it? Cause just because I watched these movies in this year does not mean it probably came out. But Creed 3 came out in March as well. What's all these March movies? Damn. And I know touchy topic with one of the co-stars there. I'm not gonna it's not the platform for me to talk. Well, I don't use this podcast to talk about that. But yeah, Creed 3. This one was I believe this was the debut directing role of Michael B. Jordan. He directed this one as well as starred in it. Um, this one I can't say if it was a like if I can because obviously this is set in the Rocky universe. Yeah, if I can like compare it to any of the Rocky movies, I can't really say which one. It would probably be close to Rocky 3 with despite Clubber Lang and Rocky not knowing each other prior to the fight, it was the same thing where it's like, you made it, you became who you are, but where's my shot, where's my chance? That is, it was the same premise as that in this movie. Like but Adonis, who was Michael B. Jordan character, was friends with Damien, Jonathan Major's characters. So like it was that, but if Rocky and Clubber Lang were friends. So if you haven't seen Creed 3, that's spoiler, not spoiler. Obviously, there's more because of the characters that's in this film is different, but the premise is that, Creed already became this household name. He made it. Then you got this one dude who's like, I had a chance, but something stopped me. But I'm here now, and I want my chance while I'm still physically able to do it. And it was like, oh, it was shaky in the beginning. Like people telling him, nah, like you don't owe him nothing. And then yeah, and then obviously the final showdown. um, I like the fight, but I do be noticing like when certain patterns happen. Like obviously, I'm not a fan of the sport of boxing. I love the Rocky films, but I'm not a fan of the sport of boxing, so I don't really watch. But I never seen anyone really block punches the way Damien was blocking punches in that movie. I'm like, is that like I said? I don't know the technicalities besides no hitting below the belt. I'm like, is that a legit blocking method? The way he blocking, like usually it's just put your hands up in like I guess a vertical way to block your attacks, but he was doing it horizontally, and I'm like, uh, it's weird. But yeah, that was something that was like his go-to. He would just block while pushing towards you, and then he was just unleash a attack on you. Um, but yeah, uh, Fast X. I'm sure I talked about it because I think I was talking about why a lot of movies are becoming part twos instead of just being a flat out sequel. Um, yeah, I mean, it's fast, families and especially now that it's part because it's part one and part two. Obviously, they got to set up the part one where it's like, oh, something major happening to the good guys, so we need to see what happens in part two and how they can overcome this. That's basically the premise of Fast X with cars and family. Um, Saw X. So I'm not a horror guy, even though I don't. Now that I've seen Saw, I don't know if I classify. I mean, people have different levels of fear. So I guess if you're afraid of things like that, then yes, this is horror. But it's not so much as scary as it's just squeamish, because of the devices and the methods, which in this movie were great. Like when it makes you like cringe a bit and like tense up, like that's a good one. like oh, I could feel that. But Saw X came out. It was X, right? Yeah, Fast X. Saw X came out, and this one is weird because I'm not. Cause all right, so if anyone is following the Saw franchise, this is I guess mainly for people who are following the Saw franchise. We know that by the eighth movie, seventh, eighth movie, which one was Saw 3D? I think it was seven. Yeah, Saw 7, which was Saw 3D, the final chapter. Pretty much like all the major characters and everyone involved were kind of gone, basically. Then we not rebooted, but the sequel that came out after, which was Jigsaw, which took place in the current year that the movie came out, which Saw 3D came out in 2010. Jigsaw came out in they're showing me tools. 2017. So the time period of the last Saw movie happened, as the time period of this movie came out. So it was 7 years ago. or maybe more. I don't know. So obviously everything that has happened was, that's the past now, and uh, it seemed like we were getting a new Jigsaw in a sense. So we did like, oh, like is he gonna pick up the mantle or whatnot? And then we got Spiral, which changed, which seemed like it was gonna be a reboot, I guess. Which I talked about this in the podcast. I know I did, where I was like, oh, so probably it's gonna be because this is called the from the book of Saw. Like it's gonna be different chapters with different um like protagonists, and it all deals with this whole Jigsaw cult. Like people are just like becoming like cults of um Jigsaw followers and whatnot, and it's gonna span into this one movie where all the main characters like we gotta come together to stop this cult from happening or whatever. But then we get Saw X, and Saw X goes back. Saw X takes place after the first movie, but before the second movie. And I have mixed feelings about that because I hate when shows or movies kind of reveal the ending because of it being a sequel prequel thing. Because like, well, we know that Jigsaw does not die. Spoiler, like we have not seen any of the Saw movies. He does not die until the third movie, which is crazy that he died in the third movie, yet 4 movies was made afterwards, and he was still a prevalent character. He didn't die in the third movie. So we know whatever happens here, there's nothing wrong with him. It's more so who are these people that's being put in the trap and why. But it was a good twist. It was a good movie. Little, the Easter eggs, some recurring characters coming back, good time. But it leaves us in a weird space for continuing the story because we have basically 3 quote unquote timelines that we can continue from. We have Saw X, where if they go Saw 11 and continue with the main Saw timeline, which ended on Saw 7, they can literally like fill up gaps of what happened between Saw 7 and Jigsaw. That's 7 years worth of stuff that can have happened. Then there's the Jigsaw timeline where we can continue the Jigsaw. Is the next guy gonna take up the mantle and actually be more John Kramer, or was that just a one-off thing? Or we can do the Spiral thing where we keep going with Chris Rock's character and whoever else is involved with this situation. Like, now it's like, where are we now in this franchise? Like, when the next movie coming out, what are we like? We don't know what we are anticipating. Like, which one is gonna follow? So it was weird. And like I said, I don't like horror movies, but I love this franchise. I just because I remember the trailer for the first Saw movie, like when I was young, and it always stuck with me. And I was finally when I finally got old enough to browse the interwebs to find the movie, allegedly, I was like, hey, I'm gonna try it, see what happens. I don't really like horror, but I'm gonna watch it. And I'm like, oh, this is not, because I'm like, what can be scary? Because I didn't know the movie, but like from the premise of what I know from trailers, it's just 2 guys in a bathtub in a bathroom chained together, and yeah, what there's not shouldn't really be nothing scary about that. Obviously, there's more that happens in the movie, but yeah. So I was like, hey, this is good. Then I'm watching more. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And then how they like tying all I love like the ending montage scenes where it's like how, oh, like you screwed up since the beginning of this movie. You just didn't realize it type thing. Like, bro, it's genius. But yeah. So I don't know where this leads us for us Saw fans who's like, okay, can we get another one? But where are we gonna follow? Um, I personally don't think they're gonna. Obviously, they can't follow Saw X because Saw 2 happens after Saw X, and then we know Saw 3 happens and Sean Kramer dies. So timeline wise, Saw X is a good fit, but it's not like, oh, so are we gonna get a sequel X? Technically we can't. But like I said, if we go back to Saw 7, there is a specific character who's alive, but he did not make appearance in X. Interesting. I don't know if that's a contract thing. He just didn't want to come back. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Um, and last but not least, I talked about this one, the Dear Mama documentary, which was based on Tupac and his mother, Afeni Shakur, life, and how their life basically were parallel to each other in terms of like the trials and tribulations they both went through was literally like it was the same thing, like almost at the same age at the same time type thing. Like it was crazy, but it was one of those things where like they what I mean by they, I mean I guess like the government, whoever the people, the people that's trying to take down the Black Panthers, they failed with Afeni because they was trying to take down the Black Panthers. They had people like infiltrate the group and as informants and whatnot, and she fought her own case and was able to basically get out of any serious charges from that situation. um then we go fast forward to Tupac, and it's like, all right, we failed with her, but we not gonna fail with him. And it was just how they just try to throw everything at this man, and literally like, cause there was a scene in the documentary where it's like it was after his first shooting, like he was literally like, I just got shot, I'm being accused of doing this, and it's like everyone is turning it back on me, and it's like I think I'm gonna just give them what they want in a sense, but he pressed through, did his time in jail, and came back, and somehow some way in like almost a year time it just gave us a crazy amount of music. Just going off with the 3 albums, which the All Eyes on Me, Double This, and the Illuminati third album. But all the music that came afterwards, the movies he did afterwards, the soundtracks he was involved with afterwards, and just became like, to this day we're still talking about this man. Definitely a must watch thing, especially if you're a fan of Tupac. If you have not seen that documentary, please go watch that. And yeah, that's mostly it for movies and whatnot. Funny enough, I didn't want to put this on the list, and I forgot to put it on my what I'm up to. I'm also watching The Bear. That even though that the first season came out in 2022, I think the second season came out last year. I only finished the first season, so I can't speak on the second season. But I am watching that show is good, but geez, like it really, like, especially if you like, I don't know, like it gets you amped up because the whole show is just toxic and anxiety and chaos just jumbled up in a whole show. It's just like, this is craziness. But it's a good show. And I believe it just recently won an award for something. I don't know well. But yeah, it's a good show. Yeah. Going into my anime and manga section. This might get long, maybe not. Um, Starting off with probably the only anime I've seen this year. Um, which was funny because I had this manga on my. Cause I have like 500 mangas on my plan to watch list or whatever or read backlog, and I had this here, and I just know I'm reading like 5 mangas right now. I'm gonna get to it when I get to it. And then my cousin told me about this anime. I wasn't paying attention to what he was telling me though, but he was telling me about the anime, and because I guess he told me the English name, and because I only knew the Japanese name in the manga, but of course, yeah. So he told me about the anime, but I wasn't paying attention, and the names obviously didn't click up, so I didn't know what he was talking about. And then I don't know how. I'm probably just gonna blame TikTok, but I don't know how I found something from this anime, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch this. Yeah, I'm gonna watch this. And I just sat there, just chilled at home, and I binged the entire season in one shot. The show was called Heavenly Delusion. And I realized like probably like within the first episode, I'm like, these characters look familiar. And then I looked at the manga, the cover art, I'm like, bro, this is that manga. Then I showed like I sent the Snapchat to my cousin. He was like, bro, it's the show, it's a leave. I went, okay. So Heavenly Delusion. This is a weird one. This takes place in one of those dystopian Japan, like some disaster has strike, and now we live in this messed up world. There's these creatures that exist, and we follow a main character as a guy and a girl, a boy and a girl. They're kind of like in their teens, or I think I don't know. It gets tricky. And the guy has some connection to these monsters where he's able to kill them because they're like almost like unkillable, because like they just like regenerate or whatever. They got thick skin or whatever. They have, some of them have strange abilities. So but he's the only one who can like do it. And for some she's looking for some people, and I think she took on a mission to take this dude somewhere because he's looking for whoever he's looking for, and that's their journey of them just traveling this dystopian Japan and searching for people that connects to their past. And at the same time, another storyline is being told about the group of kids who are kind of like just sheltered, like in a dome building, and like they're technically just being sheltered from the world, like they're being schooled and taught things. But we noticed something that's strange with these kids, because some of them have like, I don't want to say abilities, but like they're more like they're faster and stronger than regular humans. And then there's some of them that have physical, like, I don't want to say deformities, but like they don't look normal. Like one female has a sharp teeth, one has like these fluffy ears that's like animal ears instead of regular ears. And we just get in these two stories. Like, it's not a good way to explain it, but it's, I don't know. I don't want to say I wouldn't just outright recommend it, because the anime and manga does touch on some topics that's not for I don't want to say not for kids. most anime aren't for kids. Um, but I would say there's some trigger warnings for certain themes. So if you not, I suggest, I guess, figuring out what those trigger warnings are, or what it is your limits are for things you want to see and don't want to see. So I wouldn't just flat out recommend it. And even for the manga, because there's some light, well, in the anime it's censored, but there's some light nudity implied in the anime, but in the manga it's more there. It's not like, it's not crazy, but it's like the best way to say, like, they won't show a chest in the anime, but in the manga they will show it. So if you go the manga route, I guess double the trigger warning because it's more explicit on some things that happen. Yeah. The manga is still ongoing, but the first season, I guess, of the anime is over, which it did come out last year, 2023. So it's good animation too. I don't, like I said, I'm not gonna just flat out recommend it, but it's a good watch. And I feel like the manga is getting closer to the end, but it's just taking forever to be translated. So yeah. This manga, in terms of translations, is finally over. It's called Candy and Cigarettes. It follows another duo of an elderly old man who's like retired. He used to be part of like an agency. He was like a trained killer basically, but he's old and retired now. He just want to live that regular life. But his grandson has a disease. It's like an unknown disease, and it's for the most part kind of incurable, where it's just basically not randomly, but it just, for some reason, it just it just puts you in like a coma vegetable state. Like, you're just there, like, you don't talk, you don't speak, you're just in a coma vegetable state. And he's basically like, I retired, but like, if I gotta do what I gotta do to get this money so I can pay for his operation, then I gotta do what I gotta do. And enters his partner, who is a freaking middle school girl who is just a killing machine. She's basically been trained on how to kill, like, since, like, probably that's the only thing she knows in life. So that's their duo. And they both working for this agency, and they basically went from like, hey, like, they're basically assassins. But it goes deeper into she would basically do the killing and he would do the cleanup. Like, that was their deal. But it eventually gets into the point where it's like, we uncover a governmental corruption plot to take over the world, and we need to stop it, blah blah blah. But yeah, that's that one. So that manga, is in translation is fully done. So if you want to check that out, it's fully done. The next one is Kanojo Mo Kanojo, which translates to girlfriend. The anime, I think there's a second season. I know there's a first season. I'm not sure there's a second season, but I've only read the manga. I didn't watch the anime. This one, like, I don't really like harem type animes or whatever, because they always make the main dude like stupid. Like, he's just oblivious to the fact that all these girls is just onto him, and he's just like, oh, I don't know what to do, and just acts stupid the whole time. This dude is kind of the opposite. He has this girl. Well, this is kind of his childhood childhood crush. Like he's been like, like I like you, I want to date you. And I think she gave him like some kind of stipulation, like, oh, when we reach a certain age, and if you do this and whatever, I'll date you. And I guess he finally did it. So the the show starts off with him and her finally dating. So we learn about that backstory later on. But the show starts with them two dating, like finally, like, hey, I finally got my childhood crush to be my girlfriend. And then this girl confessed to him on the roof, and like, hey, I like you and I want to date you. And he's like, you're cute, but I want to ex my girlfriend first. And and for some reason, somehow, it ends up like kind of a agreement, non-agreement, that she can be together. So he's dating another girl, and then it just keeps going on and on. It's like, oh, this one girl who's just like obsessed with him and trying her best to date with him, but he's like, I don't want to date you, but she's like not going away. And then there's another friend who's like, oh, secretly she always loved him, but she saw her friend like, he loved her friend more. So it's one of those things, like she liked him, but she saw that he liked her like her friend, so she bowed out so that they could be together type thing. But as time progressed, it was like, oh, she can't hold back her feelings, and it was one of those things. And it's like, he's just like, you know what? Yeah. And then I think his parents or his mother found out about it, and she like, I will only accept this relationship if he like, I guess if he's like number one in his school or whatever. So like he just sits there and just study, and they like just like they like cheer him on and help him out. And I'm like, bro, what is this? But it's the fact that it's like he's willingly like going out his way to like date these girls. It's not like, oh, I don't know what to do with these girls. I'm clueless. So it's a funny take on it. And he's like mad blunt and direct. So he like, if he says something, like if he likes you or whatever, he just says it mad direct. He won't go around. He won't beat around the bush about it. So it's funny. I feel like it's a parody on the harem take, in my opinion. But yeah. Going into my next one, which is Welcome Back, Alice. This one is kind of, I don't want to say deep or touchy, but this one is kind of more serious tone. This one was, I'm sure I talked about this, but I guess since I last talked about it, I finished it. This one was made by the author who made one of my favorite mangas, which was The Flowers of Evil. And this manga basically tackles gender identity. The whole concept of this one is there's 3 childhood friends when they were like kids, and it was kind of a love triangle, quote unquote. The main boy liked the girl liked the other friend, who was a guy, and secretly the friend liked the main boy. The main dude saw the girl and his friend kissing once, and he just he saw it, and it was like, oh, that's that. And I think the friend, shortly after that, he moved away. And fast forward to maybe high school. They got a new transfer student joined the class. It was this girl, and she immediately started teasing the main dude. And I don't think, and the childhood friend, the girl he liked, was like, it's one of those things where like, oh, like, you could have gave him play this whole time, but when this girl pulls up, now you want to start meddling. But it wasn't only till they found out that the girl was actually the childhood friend, the boy that moved away. He's basically just, he's not trans. He's just cross dressing as a female, and for some reason, because obviously I'm reading, so people are assuming that he's putting on a feminine voice, but his deal is mainly to erase the barriers of gender. And I think that's what he wanted to do with his friend, because it's like, like what, like who says we have to be a certain, like, just because I'm a boy or a girl, whatever, that don't means we have to follow certain status. And it was got to the point where it just it tackles a lot. I can't talk about it too much, but if you're into seeing or reading a manga that tackles the whole concept of gender identity and what's the barriers of love and what's really like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Welcome Back Alice is what it's called. Next one, The Golden Sheep. I don't know if I finished it this year, but I'm putting it there. Golden Sheep, I think it's only like 4 volumes, I think. No, I think 3. I think it's only 3 volumes, 3 books. This one is it's a case of more childhood friends. It's a group of childhood friends. I think it's mainly 3 of them, but I think there might be 4 of them. I think it's 4 of them. Like they were like all close friends, and then the main girl moved away, and when she came back, she noticed that a lot of things changed. Like her close friend is like being more cold towards her and like being rude to her. Her 2 male friends, basically they were bros the last time she seen them, and now this dude is literally like picking on him and like beating him up with his new friends. And the other dude is just like, he has no confidence in himself and he just don't believe in himself, so he just allows himself to just be stepped on by this dude. So she just comes back and she's like, what the heck happened to all my friends? And it just went on a journey to like, I guess, find themselves. They all just went on their own personal journey to like find themselves and grow. And by the end of the manga, they finally reconciled. But the journey that they go through, I won't spoil that. Yeah. This next one is called My Broken Mariko. Two things when I went to go buy this book. One was it was a wrapped up book. Oh, so most people know. I think it's probably only the Barnes and Nobles when they have like mangas like wrapped up. Usually it means like this like explicit stuff in there, and then I'm like, oh, explicit, okay. And then I looked at and I was like, but the title, I don't know, it didn't give off like this is adult. You know what I mean by adult. It didn't give off that vibe. So I'm like, let me see it in the art style. When you look at the cover art, I'm like, this definitely does not look like, that adult, but it looks like it might be something dark. Then you read the story. I read the back that basically tells the story. So and it's only one book. There's no other volumes. It's just one manga book. This girl Mariko had recently passed away, and her best friend, she's just carrying her ash with her, and I feel like this was a while ago, but basically it was like she's trying to figure out why she died, because it was one of those things like, they made a promise to each other that they always be together, whatever, one of those things, and it's like, you're dead, like why? And we start to learn like the backstory about her having an abusive father, in multiple ways of being abusive. And then she was, just basically had no regard for her own life. So she was like harming herself. So it touches on that stuff in terms of adult. It's a pretty dark one. And it's, I don't know if I can recommend it because it's not a typical, like, when you think of manga, like it's nothing like, it's just a story. It's like there's no build up, there's no hero, there's no protagonist, no antagonist really. It's just a story. Like it's something that can happen in real life. Like there's probably a friend that you probably know who went through something tragic and it cost them their life, and now you're stuck with, like, trying to piece together why you had to live without this person now. And that's that. Yeah. And then last but not least, which I'm sure I talked about this a lot of times, which is Sweat and Soap. I'm not gonna linger on it too much. It's a rom-com. It's not too much com. It's just more straight up romance, slice of life. It's not adult, but it's mature. Like it touch on, like, yeah, we are a couple, and yeah, we do a couple things. They just show it in some pages, and that's it. It's not touched upon, which I like that, because like, because that was my disconnect with anime. Like, it's too much. Every freaking high school, every anime is high school. I'm like, I don't want to see these kids. Like, it's weird. I don't want to see these kids romancing. And then if you look for adult, then it's like that's too adult. So where's the middle ground? So this is a good middle ground. It's a good adult. They both work. They working adults. They get into a relationship due to a common situation. He was inspired by her scent, and she actually uses the products that he makes to help her cope with her anxiety and her past trauma. So they both were, basically in a sense seeking each other, just indirectly, because he uses his nose to smell things that helps him create products, which is mostly soap, hence the title of the name. And because, like I said, she uses the soap to comfort, but like, what's better than the soap is when you find the dude who actually makes it, and that bond of him giving you that comfort instead of just the soap. So it's a good romance. I think it's 12 volumes. I have all of them, and yeah, good. It's a good read. Yeah. Going on to the game section, the heavy game section, the best games of 2023 that I've been playing, and the answer is just Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, man. I mean, I don't know. I made a YouTube video about it. I'm sure I talked about it like 5 episodes on this podcast. Cyberpunk is the modern era greatest game of all times for me. Like, there's different eras, like, for me, like, my number one will always be Sonic Heroes. But obviously there's Sonic Heroes, there's GoldenEye, there's Mario, there's Cyberpunk. Like, for each generations of my life, like, Cyberpunk is my now. I've beaten this game 11 times. That's all I'm gonna say. That game has taken up all of my time. That game, it's funny because like I said, aside from what I went through, I lived like, yo, I'm going to be involved this year. Cause like I said, it's too much happening this year for me to miss out. I'm going to be playing these games. I played Forspoken. I 100% of Forspoken. I enjoyed Forspoken. I started playing Hi-Fi Rush. I didn't really enjoy it. I started playing Atomic Heart. I didn't really enjoy it. I started playing Wulong. I didn't really enjoy it, and I just went back to Cyberpunk. Um, and then they announced the DLC was going to come out, so even more hype. Getting into modern Cyberpunk, which gave it more life. The updates they was adding, keeping the game alive. If you have not played Cyberpunk by now, the anime, don't forget the anime. But yeah, if you have not played Cyberpunk by now, just do it, please. Just do it. Just do it. I think the DLC alone, I think sold 50 million copies. I'm not sure. I think I see that randomly somewhere. But yeah, man, just get it. If you have not gotten it yet. Um, yeah, man. Yeah, sorry, bro. um, yeah, so just going on to the last section um of this. I've been talking a lot, and the funny thing that this is has nothing to do with like. I mean, it is now. um, so the last section is life, just life, just the best things or some of the best things that happened um last year. Um, Obviously, I'm not just gonna sit here and nitpick everything. Like, obviously, there's some good days and some bad days. Starting off with the top of the year, kind of. My birthday, celebrating my birthday, in a unusual way than I normally celebrate my birthday. Um, had was out having fun. And I was introduced to some people, which one of them um is involved with the thing that I mentioned before that I'm not going to talk about yet. So it's full circle how that happened. I just randomly, like, it was kind of a random, like, oh, my friend is over here. They was at karaoke, like a karaoke bar. Like, hey, they over there. You want to just go over there? Like, oh, like, let's do it. And we just we sat there, uh, did some karaoke. They had like he had like freaking game consoles set up in there. We playing Pokemon Stadium, uh, doing karaoke, and then that was it. And the funny thing, it was touched upon the situation. It was touched upon that day, and it went silent. And it's only now that we started to really like touch on it again. um, so I'll be sure to update that situation when we fully get our footing on it. Um, but yeah. Then going towards the end of the year, I talked about this on the last episode. I talked about pretty much all of this on the last episode, but I just want to go a little bit more in depth, I guess. Not so much in depth. I kind of went in depth. The family Thanksgiving. I already talked about how originally this was supposed to be. I was supposed to take a trip to Puerto Rico with my father and his family. What I mean by his family, like his wife and her kids and whatnot. That didn't work out. So I spent Thanksgiving with my mother, who which ended up being with my family, which I mentioned on the last episode. Which the funny part of that is that side of my family is my father's side of the family. But it's my mother who's hanging out with them instead of my father. And I was like, yeah, like I said, I touched on it. Like my parents has been separated like at damn near as long as I've been around. Like I have a brief memory of them together. And to know that her relationship with that side of the family is still like, this is family. Don't matter what happened between you two, like y'all still family. Mostly due to me and my brother. But yeah, because usually like things get soured with that. So that was great to like just have that moment with my whole family. Um, and just having a good time, catching up with some people that you know, catching up with some family members that you don't see often, because Thanksgiving was my favorite holiday growing up because of that. Because that's what Thanksgiving usually always looked like. It was always us, just big gathering of family. Um, and then, you know, we moved away and started getting distance with the other family members, and I don't have control over that, so I can't be like, hey, how come we don't just go over there and see them? Like, it's my father's wishes to be with his wife and his little family, and like, this is what's important to him. So I can't. Who am I? It's just a child, can't tell him what to do. So yeah, it's nice to like come full circle with that. Like, this was, this is something that, this moment right here is something that always been in my heart, in my mind. Like, I always wanted these moments again. To have it again, it was a good topping off to the year. Then before that, there was my Trinidad trip, which um took with my mother. It was her brother's, my uncle birthday, and you know, spent a little weekend over there. Like I said, that's my other side of my family is in Trinidad. So my grandmother was there, my uncles was there. Just getting to see them and being in Trinidad again. It was amazing. Just, even for a short period of time, it was just amazing. Um, it felt it finally felt right, because like I touched on this. Like every time, like I went, Trinidad is probably the most traveled place I've been to, like in my life, and for some reason, my connection there is not. It's never that strong. Um, I don't like, cause especially when you grow up as a city boy and you go to Trinidad, it's not, to see like how some of them are living is like, it makes you feel weird, I guess. And I guess because I was too young to like truly appreciate and understand why it made me feel weird. And now that I have like more clarity in life and understanding things and like understanding the world better, it's like I get it, and it's all right. But it was amazing. Finally, like to finally feel comfortable just being there. I guess I didn't want, I guess there was a part of me that felt guilty being there, because like, damn, here's some of my family members that's living here in conditions that's quote unquote, in certain people's eyes, like rough, and it's like, here I am, or here some of us are complaining about the way we live back at home, and it's like, damn, like, I guess, yeah. So I guess it was like kind of a guilty feeling of me being over there, and I was never like comfortable being over there, but I was comfortable um, being there, being around my family. Um, I didn't get to fully explore certain places that we should have explored and do things. Like I said, it was just a short little weekend, so maybe another time. That was just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah. Then there's my Japan trip. Oh man, what's to say about this one? Um, like I said, I talked about it. It was a killing of two birds. I don't even want to say killing, but it was a knocking of two birds with one stone. Um, being able to visit a place that's, culturally I've been interested in and invested in, with, mostly anime and video games and whatnot, and then having my closest best friend in my life to me, who just happens to be living there. Well, I don't want to say it like that, but it's like it was like I said, it's like, oh, you also live there, and I also want to visit there, and also I will, we had to meet because we never met before, and we've been friends for at the time period almost 10 years. At this point now, it's been 10 years. We have been friends for 10 years now, and it's like, like I said, I'm finally in the place in my life where I can make these decisions in my life now. So I'm like, yeah, this is going to happen. Then yeah, went to Japan for the first time. For the first time, traveling by myself, and then for the first, it was about a whole bunch of first times. that was Japan, a whole bunch of first times, and then me and my friend, and it was just, and it was instant like. Like like it was weird because it's like, oh, like, because when she was supposed to be waiting for me when I came out, but she had to go use the bathroom, and I'm like, she was like, oh, so like, but gotta use the bathroom, just go exchange your money or do something or whatever. So I'm like, all right, I guess. And I was going to exchange, and I'm like, and she finally pulled up, and it wasn't like, oh, like, it's you type thing. Like, it wasn't like awkward. It was like we just picked up the conversation of our text to in person. Like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I'm here exchanging my money, and then at that, then it was like a formal greeting, like, oh, nice to finally meet you type thing. Like, hey, man. Like, we're finally seeing each other in person. And then, like I said, it became a running gag of like I said, it's no longer like we're just voices in each other's ears when we call each other. Like, you're actually right here in front of me. Like, we can actually have conversations more frequently now because the time distance. Like, when she's sleeping, I'm awake. When I'm awake, she's sleeping. Oh, did I just say that twice? But you get the point. So it's like now we can actually just talk right here, right now. Whatever's on our mind, let's just talk about it and sightsee and experience Japan. And yeah, it was great. I needed that one. And yeah, Japan was, I think, and the funny thing, it definitely was not enough time, but it was definitely like one of like my highlights in life. I definitely fell in love with, like, cause I know there's people who like, oh, like, you idolize something and then you finally do it and it's like, oh, this actually wasn't. Maybe we idolize things too much because of what, because Japan isn't all. It's not like the animes. There's different rules, there's different structures that I learned about that's like not really over here. So it's like, oh, I didn't know about that. Oh, interesting. But it was a great experience. It blew my expectations out, and of course, again, I don't give. I mean, I given her enough props and respect for being able to jam pack a week into everything that we was able to just experience in just that short amount of time. And yeah. And then last but not least, the best thing of the year was to come out of the year, you know, overcoming that mental hurdle I had when I started the year, which is crazy. Like I said, I wanted to do so much, and I everything just got put on pause because of the stuff I was going through in my mind and all the things I was thinking about. So it was nice to finally take that step back from the world and be with myself, and then also traveling and being in different parts of the world. It's like literally like especially like America. America is just weird. I have my own theories about America. About to just break away from this part of society and this mindset and finally just be to myself and my thoughts, and also exploring new things and understanding new things and coming up to a new space in my life of comfort and understanding. And yeah, to walk away with to walk away from that year better. You know, that's it's things. It's I always pray for to be able to have the strength to overcome the obstacles in life, because there's always going to be obstacles in life. I just pray to have the strength to do it. And the thing about the obstacles in life is you don't know how long they're gonna last. Like I said, this lasted pretty much the entire year, and I apologize to her for this, but even like she was able to get a glimpse of that when I was in Japan. Like for a good hour or two, I shut down on her because of my mind just went left, and then other stuff was happening at the same time, and I just shut down on her. Like, oh, I just wasn't speaking, and I was just like, NPC mode, just walking around, following her around. I was just like, I shut down for a moment. Like, yeah. I don't even know what I was saying. I was talking too much, man. This is supposed to be a short episode. This is like long. But yeah, just to overcome all of that and to finally walk away better, and that's always the best thing. To walk away better than you were previous when you started. That's always like my New Year resolution, to be better than I was the previous year. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna about time to wrap this up. So hope you guys enjoyed this long rambling of stuff I was doing all last year. Hopefully I can get back into, I keep saying that, but hopefully I can get back into making more episodes. It's just what it is I don't know what else to talk about. Like, I felt like because what it is that I don't want to just talk about things. Like, it's easy for me to just pick up random mental health stuff and try to sound like some mental health guru. But what it is that I like to tie my life into it. Like, I want to tell you things that are present in people's lives, but it's also present in my life. And here's what I did to go through it, and hopefully it gives you an idea of what you can do to get through whatever your situation you're getting through. Like, I'm not trying to be the end all be all decision. I just want to spark dialogue and open your mind to different possibilities, to things that's happening in your life, because everybody's going through things, and I just want to be a voice for you, because I didn't really have a voice for me when I was going through things. So bear with me if episodes are delaying again, because I just don't know what to talk about, especially with everything. Like, I don't want to say like, hey, my life is perfect right now, so screw you guys, I'm done making this. Like I said, I went through a whole year of what I went through. And it, like I said, it put me on hold on enjoying a lot of things, and even put me on hold on making this podcast. So we all go through things. We just don't know when it's gonna happen, and you don't know how long it's gonna happen for. But like I said, for whatever it is that you need to do to prepare yourself to be ready to take on that challenge, that's what it's about. Just taking on the challenge, passing the test, learning from it, understanding it, and hopefully you become better from it. And yeah, that's that. So yeah, but until next time, hope you all have a great day, a great week, and yeah, peace.